Hey, did you hear about Delhivery's plan to acquire Ecom Express? It's been making headlines.
Oh, yeah, I did. I saw that Delhivery announced it on April 5th. It seems like a pretty big move.
Right, I was reading up on it. Apparently, they've released some FAQs to help shareholders understand the deal better. What's the big idea behind the acquisition, anyway?
Well, it seems like it's all about scale. Logistics is a business where size really matters. Delivery thinks that by getting bigger, they can serve more customers, cut costs, and really invest in better tech and infrastructure.
So, scale is the main driver?
Yeah, that's the main thing. They want to become like the backbone of commerce in India, and they think this acquisition will help a lot. They're talking about how important logistics is for economic growth, just like telecom was back in the day.
That makes sense. What about profitability? Will this deal actually make them more money?
That's the idea. Delivery says they're already pretty good at making money because of their integrated network and technology. They reckon that adding Ecom Express's volumes will help them use their network even better and boost profits after they've integrated everything.
Okay, so they're expecting to keep making good money on the new business too?
Exactly. They expect to keep revenue from the acquisition at high incremental gross margins. Plus, they can cut costs by getting rid of overlapping stuff and central overheads.
Got it. Now, I'm curious about Ecom Express's recent performance. Can you give me the lowdown?
Sure. For the full year of 2024, Ecom Express reported express revenue of 2,349 crore rupees and warehousing revenue of 260 crore rupees, bringing their total revenue to 2,609 crore rupees. They had an EBITDA of 104 crore rupees.
Okay, not bad. What about more recently?
For the 9 months ending December 2024, their express revenue was 1,713 crore rupees and warehousing revenue was 199 crore rupees, totaling 1,912 crore rupees. However, they had an EBITDA loss of 11 crore rupees during that period.
A loss, huh? What's going on there?
Well, they had some non-cash losses due to the fair valuation of financial liabilities, specifically related to compulsory convertible preference shares or CCPS.
CCPS? What are those?
Basically, it's a type of preference share that must be converted into equity shares after a certain period. Anyway, due to accounting rules, Ecom Express had to recognize a loss on these, but Delhivery says that once the acquisition is complete, they'll hold those CCPS and that loss item will disappear when they combine the books.
So it's more of an accounting thing than a real operational loss?
Exactly. If you adjust for that non-cash loss, Ecom Express's adjusted PAT loss for those 9 months was 184 crore rupees.
Okay, that's a bit clearer. And what about their assets and debts?
As of December 2024, Ecom Express had a net worth of 998 crore rupees, debt of 88 crore rupees excluding the CCPS, lease liabilities of 516 crore rupees, and trade payables of 253 crore rupees. They also had 508 crore rupees in cash and equivalents.
This sounds complex.
It is, but Delhivery seems to have done its homework. They reclassified the CCPS as net worth for a clearer picture of the balance sheet.
Makes sense. Hey, wasn't there some trouble when Delhivery integrated Spot On? Are they expecting similar problems this time?
They say this acquisition is different and should be smoother. For example, almost all of their customers overlap. So integrating customer-facing processes should be pretty easy. Plus, customers are already integrated with delivery systems.
Okay, so the customer base is already familiar. What else makes it different?
Well, Ecom Express's volumes are only about 40% of Delhivery's express parcel volumes. When they bought Spot On's PTL volumes were twice the size of Delhivery's. So this time, the scale is more manageable.
That's good news. What about the actual physical network? Are they going to keep all of Ecom Express's facility?
No, Delhivery thinks they won't need most of Ecom Express's network infrastructure. They've already factored in lease lock-ins and expect to downsize excess capacity pretty quickly.
So what happens to the extra facilities?
They'll either move delivery operations to Ecom Express's facilities if they're in a better location, repurpose them within the delivery network, or just shut them down.
And what about the employees? Are people going to lose their jobs?
Delhivery's headcount is way bigger than Ecom Express's, and they say their normal attrition rate should let them absorb qualified operating staff from Ecom Express. Plus, they have the Delhivery Academy to train everyone.
That's good to hear. So how did they decide how much to pay for Ecom Express?
They say they've been pretty conservative in their assumptions about how much revenue they'll keep, what kind of margins they'll get, and how much integration will cost. They've also considered Ecom Express's weaker performance in the last quarter.
Conservative is good, right? So what's their thinking?
Their purchase price is based on the profits they expect to make on the revenue they keep, minus the integration costs. They're figuring around 30% of financial year 2025 base revenue.
And what about those integration costs? How much are they expecting to spend on that?
They are estimating around 300 crore rupees for temporary network integration costs and overlapping corporate overheads, mainly in the first 2 quarters after the deal closes.
So all in all, do they think this deal will be good for their profit margins?
Definitely, they're expecting it to be margin accretive, meaning it will improve their overall profitability. They don't think they'll need to invest a lot more to handle the extra volume. So they're expecting some good operating leverage.
Let's talk about Ecom Express's infrastructure. How big is their network?
Ecom Express has about 9 million square feet of infrastructure, with 7 million for transportation and 2 million for warehousing. They operate about 3,750 facilities, including hubs, processing centers, and delivery centers.
That's a lot of real estate. So how will Delhivery use all of that?
Like we talked about, they'll either move delivery operations into those facilities, repurpose them for something else within the delivery network, or just close them down. They've already factored in the cost of mothballing any redundant facilities.
What about future investments? Will Delhivery have to spend a ton of money on new equipment?
They actually think this deal will reduce their capital expenditure as a percentage of revenue. Ecom Express already has a net block of assets worth around 450 crore rupees, including plant and machinery.
So they can use Ecom Express's stuff instead of buying new stuff?
Exactly. They estimate they'll have about 200 crore rupees worth of net block available for future growth, which will reduce their need to spend on things like sorters over the next few years.
Okay, that sounds like a smart move. Are there any hidden liabilities that Delhivery is taking on?
They say they did a thorough due diligence and didn't find any major issues like unpaid dues or legal problems. Any known liabilities have either been factored into the purchase price or are covered by indemnification in the deal documents.
That's a relief. I was a bit worried about that.
Yeah, they seem to have covered their bases.
One last thing, Ecom Express lost a bunch of money last year, right? How will that affect Delhivery's finances?
Remember that a big chunk of that loss was due to those non-cash valuation adjustments for the CCPS. Once Delhivery owns Ecom Express, that line item will disappear.
Right, so it's not as bad as it looks on the surface.
Exactly. Plus, Delhivery has a more efficient cost structure, so they expect to make better margins on the revenue they keep from Ecom Express, and they'll be cutting costs by streamlining the network and overheads.
Makes sense. So when is this whole thing supposed to happen?
Well, it depends on getting approval from the Competition Commission of India. The deal documents give them up to 6 months from signing, which can be extended if needed.
Okay, so it could take a while.
Yeah, but they said they'll keep everyone updated on the timelines as things progress. So overall, Delhivery seems pretty confident that this acquisition will be a good thing for them.
It sounds like they've thought it through pretty carefully. It seems that they're making calculated moves in this acquisition. Hey, this has been really insightful.
No problem. Glad I could help break it down.
So what's your take on all of this, considering all the angles we've discussed?
Well, it seems to me that Delhivery is making a strategic play for market dominance. By acquiring Ecom Express, they're not just increasing their scale, but also potentially streamlining operations and reducing long-term costs. Disclaimer, we advise investors to check with certified experts before taking any investment decisions.
That's true. So for listeners who are interested in learning more, where can they find this information?
All of this information can be found on Delhivery's website, along with the official FAQs document. Be sure to check it out. And if you're enjoying our content, please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more insightful discussions.